I need a haircut. Hello! Welcome! It's another Tuesday, which means only one thing, Overdress Tuesday, of course. Today we have a bunch of cool news for you guys. As always, you know, we have this is actually week 9 of the 9-week special. It's kind of crazy to think that it's been 9 weeks already since Overdress got announced. And today is a bit of a weird one because we had our very special stream where Misaki's voice actress actually was there, and it was actually Dr. O's final stream ever, and so it was going to be really, really emotional. But then YouTube died. Like in the middle of the stream, YouTube just basically exploded and died, and then like the stream got corrupted and we couldn't watch it anymore, so everything just like came out through screenshots later on for like the few people that could, and it was just really, really weird. But I mean, we got to see it, we got the news. And, you know, I think we'll talk about Dr. O some other time because I want to rewatch the VOD myself, you know, how they sent him off and everything. A lot of people are sending their heartfelt messages to Dr. O himself as well. So if you want to, you can write to him on Twitter. I think even in English, he'll be happy to read it. So I'll leave a link right here if you want to, or that's his @ for his Twitter, if you want to leave a heartfelt message. He's still going to be working for Bushiroad, but he just won't be doing the weekly streams and delivering news every day as he has been, or every week rather, as he has been for the last 10 years. But as usual, we're going to do our thing where we look at all the reveals from this past week. There's 2 cards in there that I already kind of showed already in my overdress testing videos, so we're going to go through those quickly, and then we get to today's stuff, which is the big reveals, and then talk about what's coming next week as well, which is what I'm especially hyped for. All right, quickly, let's shoot through these first 2. So we have Brody. This is the one from the Dark Stage starter deck. So this guy says when put on Guardian Circle, you can count almost 1 to give him plus 5k shield. So of course this can mean when put on Guardian Circle from hand, but I'm also wondering if this also means when put from rearguard circles, like when you intercept. We might have to wait for the Q&A for the start decks to come out once the start decks come out in a couple of weeks. But if that is how that skill works, then that's going to be really, really nice. I've been playtesting with that kind of ruling in mind because I think that that makes the card really cool, because you can call it down, attack with it as a 10k attacker, and then intercept with it and use it as a 10k blocker, basically, which is really, really nice. And then the card that basically saved the Brand Gate start deck, which is Security Patroller. So this guy looks really, really nice, and his skill is also really good. On place, rearguard circle, Soul Blast 1, choose an opponent's rearguard and imprison it. So this gave us a way to imprison cards without having to counterblast, which is really nice, because so far we have counterblast 1 on Seraph Snow for 2, you know, jails. We have the grade 2 on place, a jail from hand, but that one's not really that good. And so this one finally gives us a really cool way to just like Soul Blast 1, use that soul that we've been getting from the order card into actually using it for skills. So this is actually really nice. I like it a lot. Soul Blast 1 to just get rid of something is, in my opinion, really, really good. And so I'm personally really happy with this card. Probably one of the cards from the starter deck for Brand Gate that's going to be used in the actual main deck after the first booster set comes out. And then, now that we're done with the starter deck stuff, from here on forward, it's going to be all of the first booster set cards. We already got some last week with the Alchemagic mechanic, but here we have the actual like commons and rares from the booster set being revealed every day. So the first one is Drag Ritter Al-Waris. So this is a Dragon Empire card, which says when placed on rearguard circle, counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1 to choose an opponent's rearguard that is grade 2 or greater and retire it. So I think this is quite nice. I already said in my previous video, if you haven't seen it, by the way, if you haven't seen my first impressions on playtesting the start decks video, you should really check it out, because I just go over basically how these start decks feel. And you can also check out my gameplay video, which is pretty long, so you can skip through to the games you want to see and the matchups you want to see how these decks feel as well. But I think that this is pretty cool because it's a cheaper retire compared to Varina itself, which is a little bit unfortunate to say, but I think it might come in handy. But then again, it's also not super great. Then they gave us another Dragon Empire card, which is the Drag Ritter Zafar. So Drag Ritter seems to be the common naming here, which is when he intercepts Soul Blast 1 and he gets plus 5k shield out of that battle. So here they don't have the when placed kind of, you know, or when put sort of wording that they had with the one from this start deck. So maybe it doesn't work the way that I expected it to be with the start deck one, and it's more like this, where again you have a card that is a 10k beater on the board, but then when you intercept with it, you can Soul Blast 1 to have a 10k shield. This might not be too bad depending on what we get, but again, this is only a common, so it might, you know, might be whatever replaceable card that you don't really play in the future. Then they showed a third order for Stoicheia, which I don't know, I'm really liking this stuff because I kind of want to play it myself, but at the same time I kind of want to hold off. I don't want to build too many decks from set 1 myself. It's kind of tempting to build all of them, honestly, because then, you know, I can like cover all of them and it's really, really hype and everything. But a Cursed Soul, Writhing, how do you pronounce this word? Writhing? How do you say it?
Writhing.
All right, Writhing it is. A Cursed Soul, Writhing in Agony. So this order is a grade 3 order again, and don't forget that with Alchemagic you can use it in fancy ways, as we talked about last week. Check that one out if you haven't already. Soul Blast 2, to look at the top 4 cards of your deck, call a unit card from among them to rearguard circle, put the rest into your drop zone. That's already pretty good. You get to Soul Blast 2 to Superior Call 1 and then fill up your drop zone for either orders to Alchemagic into or cards to revive because you're playing basically Grand Blue. And if this order was used with Alchemagic, you call up to 2 unit cards instead, and until end of turn, those units get power plus 5k. So combined with everything we've seen so far, we now have 2 cards that can revive stuff from the drop zone, or this one doesn't really revive from the drop zone, it revives from the top of the deck, which is pretty interesting, not very Grand Blue-esque, but also fills up your drop on top of that. And it's overall a pretty good card, like just for a mass mill, you know, it's basically like almost like a navigator that also superior calls, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. Of course, it has to be used on grade 3 or, you know, later, but that's still a pretty good order. This one definitely feels like it's going to be played. I'm just curious what the ratios will be for this deck, because there's so many different orders right now in this Stoicheia deck that I wonder how many normal units you'll even have. Because what if like you look at the top 4 and they're all orders, then you kind of whiff that, and then you just like slam your drop zone full of orders. Sure, you can Alchemagic them away, but I'm going to be interested to see how the build of this is going to go, because another thing is that there's a lot of soul blasting in this already, as there has been with like every Stoicheia deck so far. They also showed us a Tear Dragon, so Aqua Force is being represented finally in Stoicheia, which is Hydraulic Ram Dragon. When this unit attacks a Vanguard on rearguard circle, if you have an order card in your bind zone, this unit gets power plus 5k. So this is, of course, you know, this works perfectly well with the Zorga playstyle because you bind your orders in order to use Alchemagic. So of course, having an 18k attacker is pretty good. You know, it's pretty consistent with how they've been showing the power lines in this deck already, but this one is more Zorga oriented rather than Magnolia oriented. So therefore, it's a bit of a power push. Plus, a lot of the orders give extra power, so this can go for like 23, 28. I like that quite a lot. But most importantly, seeing a Tear Dragon is pretty nice because a lot of us have been waiting to see the other aesthetics from the different clans that are in these nations, and today's, you know, update video definitely has a lot of those. Then we go back to Dragon Empire as we got a unit and an order. We got Struggle Shinobi Fudomaru. When his attack hits, discard 1 to draw 1. This feels, you know, as a grade 2, that's actually not too bad in case you need to filter, but again, these aren't the kind of effects I'm looking to be playing in a deck. You know, like we've already seen, you know, like search cards and like power up cards and draw cards in the other nations, whereas Dragon Empire just kind of goes like, oh yeah, get power on intercept, retire something maybe, and then maybe like on hit discard 1 draw 1. In 0 discard 1 draw 1 is really good, but I don't know if you really care about having it in this. Sure, you can discard the Trick Star, which I guess is like the main point, so that you can like discard and the next turn revive it, but that's about all I can really think of. This next one is a bit more interesting. Sunlight Punishment. This is a order card, also grade 3. A lot of these orders have been grade 3. Cost: Counterblast any amount, minimum 1. For each counterblast paid for this cost, choose an opponent's rearguard and retire it. This is an interesting, like, this card itself isn't that good. Let's be real about that. Counterblast 1 to pop 1 is pretty nice, but beyond that, it just kind of overcosted in my opinion. But I like that they're also experimenting with this interesting way of costing things, where you can pay any amount of counterblast and then it scales with the amount. I like these kind of effects a lot because this basically allows you to splash it into certain decks. Like, for example, if Dragon Empire ever gets a build that doesn't use counterblast at all and mostly focuses on soul blasting or discarding or binding or whatever, you can play this card, because if you're not counterblasting that much in your deck, why not play something that's like counterblast 5 for a field wipe or counterblast 2 to just pop front rows against certain matchups? That's pretty nasty, you know? So honestly, I think this card, a lot of people went like, oh, it's bad, it's terrible, why would I counterblast so much to pop a field? I think this has potential. I think we should probably take a look at this a bit more in the future in case Dragon Empire gets any builds that don't actually use up much counterblast. Now we're gonna quickly slip away from the overdress stuff and take a look at some V promos, because they announced 2 really cool shop promos for the month of April in Japan, which will probably get somewhere later down the line here in English, which are for Dimension Police and for Royal Paladins. Of course, I'm pretty excited about the first one. Dimension Police 1 is Gerusurachi. I'm not sure how that was translated actually, but he has a pretty interesting skill which already fits the Brandgate mechanic in my opinion, which is when this unit is placed on Vanguard or rearguard circle, so anywhere, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 2 or greater, you can Soul Blast 1 and perform one of the effects below. If it is grade 3 or greater, that is your opponent's Vanguard, perform all the effects below instead. Your opponent may Counterblast 1. If they did not, you draw a card. That feels very Brandgatey to me. And then your opponent may Soul Blast 1. If they did not, you choose one of your opponent's Vanguards, it gets power minus 5k. I like this card a lot because all you have to do on your side is Soul Blast 1. And in a lot of DP builds, you're not actually using the soul that much to such a crazy extent, especially in premium. You know, I'm happy to put all my soul into whatever needed. So this feels like a really good grade 2. The only thing is that it's 9k power for whatever reason, which I'm not really sure why that is, but this is pretty nice. It's basically Zeal support, and not even really Zeal support. This can be splashed into basically anything in DP, and I think it's actually pretty good grade 2. Some DP builds in standard, they have like their staple grade 2s here and there, like Diadragon, Platinum Ace, or the grade 2 Zeal depending on the build, or Active Mask, but in some builds you have more space in the grade 2 slots especially, so this might actually be a really nice fit. In Soul Blasting 1, to basically say like, okay, I draw a card or you pay a counterblast, like that's pretty good. That's basically putting Gridora into DP, which I think is really, really nice because forcing some decks to counterblast is just amazing. This probably sounds a bit too risky to be, you know, too good to be true, I would say, but you can be put into situations where you give your opponent damage and then they use that damage for whatever skills they want. Like let's say you're playing against Luard and they use their counterblast 1 on Leofall and they don't countercharge it. You're playing against Gears, they use their counterblast 1 on their Earcob, and then they don't countercharge it because, well, Gears don't have countercharge right now in standard. And so you just go like, okay, Soul Blast 1, oh, you don't have any counterblast to actually counterblast, well, I guess I'll just draw a card. Alternatively, in Premium, you can give them that counterblast, you know, and if they, you know, for their plays, and if they don't use it, you can go, all right, so you can keep that counterblast and make your plays, or I can draw a card. But I think in most cases you're gonna die if you give them even one counterblast. That's probably not gonna be as good. So I think in Vimium, this is probably gonna be a pretty damn nice card. I like it a lot because especially like on turn 2, it's really, really cool because I think it's just like you can give your opponent that first counterblast to do their plays that they like to do on their turn 2, and then they just don't have it anymore to actually, you know, be able to pay for this on top of that. So you get to draw an extra card. Maybe I'm valuing the extra card a bit too much, but sorry, when a new DP card gets revealed out the blue, I just, you know, it kind of possesses me, I gotta say. And then there's a cool Royal Paladin promo as well, which says front row rearguard circle, all your back row rearguards cannot be retired by your opponent's card effects. I think this translation was messed up a bit in the official English one because it does say back row in the Japanese text. But this is really nice because this basically helps to support Altmile, which has usually a big back row that, you know, supplies the entire deck with like, you know, defensive power and everything, and like protecting violinist is really, really good in my opinion. So this is already cool effect. And then also says when it's placed on rearguard circle during your main phase, you can counterblast 1 and put a grade 2 on the rearguard on the bottom of your deck to draw 2 and choose a card from your hand and call it to rearguard circle. This is pretty cool. I think this is good in like any Royal Paladin build, whether it's like Jewel Knights or MLB or Sanctuary Guard. This feels overall really good, and especially in Altmile, that's that first skill. Ooh man, I like the protecting the back row a lot. I think that's also good in Sanctuary Guard, right? I haven't really played this in too much with Sanctuary Guard, so I'm going to be honest with you guys there. I'm not really too aware on that one. And now we're still doing promos, but this time overdress promos. And I'm kind of glad that none of these promos are too game breaking. We've had this problem in the V series where the promos like carry the deck and they feel like they should be triple rares instead of promos and stuff like that. And so they're really hard to come by. These feel okay. They feel good. Nothing too crazy, but they confirm some cool aesthetics that we've been wanting to see in these nations. First things first, we have Blazing Spear Dragon for Dragon Empire. So this one looks a bit more like a Kagero unit. And he says when he's placed in rearguard circle, if your opponent has no units in the same column as this unit, you can counterblast 1 to give him plus 10k power. So just a CB1 to get plus 10k power, not necessarily that great, but it's all right. We don't want them to be that great because that makes them into staple promos. This next one might actually be pretty important, which is the Direful Doll Violetta. She has an Act in Your Soul ability. If your soul has 10 or more cards, you can counterblast 1 to call her to rearguard circle. When we look at the Dark States archetype that's revealed today, you're gonna find this card pretty interesting. I like this card quite a lot because maybe in Premium it's not that great. CB1 to pull it out of the soul isn't that great compared to everything else that you have in Pale Moon, but this definitely feels like a Pale Moon card through and through. The background, the art, the fact that it's a doll, everything about it feels super Pale Moon, and that basically shows like we've seen the Spike Bros, we've seen the Gears, we've seen a little bit of the Pale Moon, but this gives us more of the Pale Moon in Dark States, which is really nice. Speaking of underrepresented archetypes, we have Rapid Charger for Brankgate. Looks like a Nova unit through and through. When they attack, this unit boosted hits Soul Charge 1. Again, the effect is really whatever. The effect is truly whatever in my opinion, but it shows a truly Nova Grappler aesthetic, which I think a lot of us wanted to see. Now this one I'm super excited about, and I actually really like this card, Prescription Angel. First things first, this art is beautiful. This art is amazing. This art is just fantastic. And her skill is also really, really good and I think pretty useful. So she's a grade 1. When your Vanguard is attacked and she's on rearguard circle, counterblast 1 and retire her. Choose a face-up card in your damage zone, call it to Guardian Circle, and put the top card of your deck into your damage zone face up. Now this is really cool because this allows you to activate your Perfect Guards, if I'm not mistaken, as well, because the new Perfect Guards don't say when placed from hand or anything, just like the V-Series ones, so you can basically call your Perfect Guard if it's face up in your damage zone and Perfect Guard with it, and that is really, really, really cool. And the like when your hand is 2 or less effect still applies too, so this grade 1 might just save you sometimes, and the fact that they confirmed that an Angel Feather archetype is coming to Ketter Sanctuary makes me pretty damn happy. Honestly, My second nation for like at least the start of overdress might just be Ketter, to be honest. I really enjoyed Bastion, and if we're getting the Angel aesthetic pretty soon, I'll be pretty damn happy. And speaking of aesthetics that haven't been represented enough, we have Swell Assault. This is as Aqua Force as it gets. When the attack it boosted hits a Vanguard, if it's the third battle of this turn, retire this unit and countercharge 1. So this is about as Aqua Force as it gets. That's all I'm gonna say. He looks like an Aqua Force, he's an assault like an Aqua Force. Third battle of this turn like Aqua Force. Everything about this is super Aqua Force. The nice thing about this is that like they're still retaining the sort of feel of a lot of these clans from before overdress, but now we have the ability to mix and match them with the different other clans within the nations. So you can play this with Magnolia, you can play this, hell, with Zorga from last week. It might not be super great, but to be honest, it might not even be bad. It only needs to be the third attack of the turn. It needs to hit a Vanguard on the boosted attack, so worst case is just guard pressure. But it's still a really nice card, and I'm personally pretty happy about this. All right, now let's get into the two big reveals of this week. So of course we have the Dark State stuff, which is going to be focused on sort of a Dark Irregular sort of aesthetic, also kind of combined with Pale Moon. And then we're going to look at the sort of OTT style of Keter. So the starter, I'm not going to spend much time on it, Uncanny Burning. When he's rode upon, if you went second, draw a card. All starters have the same effect. Then we have Deep Sonicer. When this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle, Soul Charge 1. That's pretty good. On play, Soul Charge 1 is pretty nice, you know, especially considering there's a brand new card pool. And Rearguard Circle during your turn, if your soul has 10 or more cards, this unit gets power plus 10k, 18k booster or attacker right off the bat. I think that's actually pretty good. Like, keep in mind that in V Premium, or, you know, the previous standard, one of the most important things was making sure that you can build columns that can always ask for 20k shield or more, because that way you're always asking for 2 card guard and just ripping through your opponent's hand. Having an 18k booster in something like this already is really good, because you basically just... because the shield power is reduced to 15k, you're already asking for a lot more shield than normal. Like, even boosting a vanilla 10k with this is already 28, which a 15k shield doesn't get over. You need another extra 5k, whether by intercepting or guarding or whatever. So I think this is really nice. This is already an amazing card. It's fantastic. The grade 2, Electro Spartan, says when this unit is rode upon by Master of Gravity Baromagnes, put a card from your hand into your soul, so that's a soul charge, draw a card, and soul charge 1. So he provides about 2 soul, which is pretty good. He doesn't like plus, he basically like, you know, puts a card from hand to draw 1, so it breaks even, but the soul charge 1 is also nice to like fill up that soul. And when he's called on Rearguard Circle, you can counterblast 1 to soul charge 2. This isn't actually too bad, although using multiple of them per turn might be a bit bad, because like you also need to counterblast 1 for your main boss unit. So we're gonna see if they get any other soul charge cards, but we already know that Dark States from the start deck itself has so many. Like, you have Brother's Soul that you can use in this deck basically at like a 4 of, and just every turn, like Brother's Soul, Brother's Soul, Brother's Soul, Brother's Soul, Baromagnes GG, you know? And why do I say Baromagnes GG? Well, because this guy has a pretty cool skill, and honestly, I'm not a big fan of DI, I'm gonna be honest. Dark Regulars never really attracted me too much, but this dude's art really makes me want to play this deck. I'm gonna be completely honest with you, and his skill is pretty damn good. When he attacks, counterblast 1 and perform all of the following according to the number of cards in your soul. If you have 5 or more cards in soul, you draw a card. CB1 for draw 1 is already good. Then, if you have 10 or more, this unit gets power plus 10k and critical plus 1. So you're asking for a lot of shield. That's 23k. That's also the extra crit for the guard pressure, asking for those PGs. Not to mention, you're not even, you know, persona writing or anything. And if you have 15 soul or more, which I think is pretty heavy, I don't know how this deck is going to achieve that, you know, before like turn 5, 6, 7. Both you and your opponent put all of your own rear guards into your souls. Choose up to 2 cards from your soul and call them to Rearguard Circle, and those units get power plus 10k until the end of turn. This is really, really cool. This, like, when this was revealed, I saw the Japanese chat going like, like they were like, what? This is so strong. What the hell? This is super strong. This is so good. But 15 or more soul feels pretty hard to set up. Like, keep in mind that the other Dark States build, which is, you know, our boy Bruce, he can on turn 4 basically unleash 30k plus attacks on your opponent 5 times. That's pretty huge. That's actually pretty massive, and they only scale higher with persona writing. So this basically says, yeah, all right, I have a 23k Vanguard with a crit, and then I'm going to be restanding 2, right? You attack with all rears, then attack with him, suck them all in, and call 2 out. So you're basically getting 5 attacks, which Bruce was already doing on turn 5 as well, with really big power on all of them, whereas this is going to be big on the Vanguard, and then it'll power up the 2 there, but those aren't boosted, so they'll be like, what, 20k, 23k, with Persona Ride, 33k? Sure, that's really good. But this feels like it feels like this might take too long to set up. I think that 15 or more soul might be a bit of a stretch on like turn 4 even. I'm thinking turn 5 is more likely. We see how hard it is for Dark Irregulars in current standard in Vimium to set up 15 soul for the Castile. I don't know. I think it's going to be a bit difficult to set up. I think it's going to take a little bit of time to actually get into this. I think by turn 3 you can hit 10 just from the cards we have so far. I think it probably is possible with a few more extra bits of support added onto it. But overall, this effect is really cool. This manages to combine both Dark Irregulars and Pale Moon into one with the whole like call stuff out of soul and attack with them. The other kind of question mark is that you're basically putting 5 things into soul in order to call 2 out. So you're minusing 3 in that sense as well, which is like, sure, they get turned into your soul, but you already have 15 at that point, so you don't need more soul than that. So I feel like that kind of like -3 you're taking every turn by using that 15 or more skill might kind of cost you, even if you're potentially nuking your opponent's board. But keep in mind, just like when people play against Brancate, some matchups just don't call cards. They just don't call down too many cards. It's like, if you are putting in 5 of your rears to put in 2 of your opponents, that's a bit of a yikes. And then like, it's like, do you not want to call boosters? Do you want to just swing with 2 front row rear guards and then put them in and then call them out? Maybe that is the play, but we're gonna see as more cards for this deck get revealed. I'm personally really interested in this because I love the art of the card and it has a bit of that Pale Moon feel, which I like as well. And now let's talk about the Ketter Sanctuary archetype, which is the Sorceresses. So here's a starter, try Connect Sorceress. When wrote upon, if you win second, draw a card. The art is really nice though, very cute art. I definitely like it. Feels like a Magus. I think that a lot of people have been saying that. Then we have the grade 1 Tier Square Sorceress. When she's wrote upon by Pentagleam Sorceress, you can Counterblast 1 to draw 1. So Counterblast 1 to draw 1 is pretty good. You know, that being said, Ketter Sanctuary draws 1 by revealing grade 3s, and this needs to counterblast, so that's a bit not as great. But she has a rearguard skill. Once per turn, when your drive check reveals a trigger unit, ooh, very nice, counterblast 1 and choose an opponent's front or rearguard and put on the bottom of their deck. Gear Chronicle, is that you got turned into waifus? Okay, I'm about it. Okay, this effect is actually pretty nice, especially on a grade 1 body, which you can just have like sitting in the back row and chilling there. It's not too bad. But so far we're already seeing like Counterblast 1 for riding over it, Counterblast 1 on the rear guard to actually pop something. Sure, Counterblast 1 to pop something or to draw something is pretty fair, but you got to make sure you don't overcost, because again, the grade 3 also asks for a Counterblast and we haven't really seen any countercharge yet, so gotta be a little bit careful. Now the grade 2 Pentagleam Sorceress I really like. This card says, when wrote upon by Hexaorb Sorceress, the main grade 3, look at 3 cards from the top of your deck and put them on the top of your deck in any order. That's basically a Hexagonal Magus skill on a grade 2, which is really nice. You get to ride a grade 3 and then you get to look at the top 3 and then choose, okay, I'm going to draw this one and I'm going to basically twin drive these 2, and that's going to be my drive check. I know what's coming. I'm playing Magus. So that skill is already good, and it doesn't cost counterblast because it doesn't actually give you a raw plus. It just lets you know what's on top of your deck, which is really nice. Now the second skill is, when placed on rearguard circle, so when called, you look at the top card of your deck and then put it on top or bottom of your deck, and if you put it on the bottom of your deck, this unit gets power plus 2k. So of course in this deck that means quite a lot, because as you probably guessed it, the grade 3 needs to know what's on the top of the deck, or rather it can work with what's on top of the deck. And you've seen other effects here, say if you check a trigger, do X and Y. However, this is a Ketter Sanctuary card. What else is in Ketter Sanctuary? Bastion. What does Bastion want? He wants you to check a grade 3 to restand a unit. So I think you can play Pentagleam Sorceress in Mr. Bastion and make sure you're always swinging for 4 attacks. However, that has to, you're kind of forced to reduce your grade 3 count, but you can just take out the vanillas from the start deck for this. And this is only, what, a rare? This is pretty damn good, and I like the fact that we can already sort of splash certain cards. The first effect will never be used in a Bastion deck, but that second effect, that literally sets up, potentially sets up for your Bastion turn, and I like that a lot. And finally, let's stop burning time and look at the grade 3 Hexaorb Sorceress. When your drive check reveals a trigger unit, choose one of your rear guards and it gets power plus 10k at the end of turn. Basically doubling the trigger's power, which is pretty interesting, but it's very OTT, it's very OTT. You're going to be stacking your deck with your effects and then putting triggers on top as much as possible, and then essentially just making sure that you can put extra power on your field, and I think that is pretty nice. Now the second skill is the one that's mostly getting the attention. Once per turn, if you Persona Road this turn, which is another Persona Ride effect that we've seen this before, but it's nice to see them like printed again. Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, reveal up to 1 critical or front trigger from your hand and put it on the top of your deck, and this unit gets drive plus 1 until end of turn. So you might be thinking, whoa, drive +1, that's so good. But keep in mind that for this cost, you counter blasted 1, soul blasted 1, and you lost a card from hand, so the drive +1 is just compensating for that loss. So keep that in mind. But this is a pretty good effect because combined with the first effect, you're powering up your board a lot while also, like, you know, using the grade 2 to pop stuff, using the grade 1 to draw extra cards. So it feels very OTT. Draw cards, check triggers, win by overpowering your opponent because you know what's at the top of your deck. And so by using the grade 2 to ride over this, you can kind of stack your deck and know what's coming. And I think that that is honestly really, really cool. It's not really my kind of aesthetic, not really my kind of like play style. I've never been much of an OTT guy. And this time, sadly, the art isn't really enough to convince me. So this kind of goes away from my list of potential decks to play from set 1. But they did show us the two remaining final aesthetics that we're getting for the booster set, which is for Baromagnes and for Dragon Empire, which is for Baromagnes, Cardinal Deus Orfisto. This one looks like a Link Joker, and you cannot tell me otherwise. This looks like basically Chaos Breaker Light or Dark Zodiac Light, just Starvader as hell. The colors, the sort of lock aesthetic. I love the new color scheme of like the pinkish and like the black and the white and the yellows. Like there's so much going on. It's drawn by Daisuke Izuka, the artist of Chaos Breaker. I am expecting luck, I am expecting Link Joker, and I'm expecting to play this. The second one is Artillery of Dust Eugen. So this is a Dragon Empire one, and he seems to have some thunder effects going on, so this might be more of an Arakami-like playstyle. If this has front row binding like Vanquisher has, especially the way that Vanquisher plays it, I'm definitely going to be interested in this because I love me some Vanquisher, and he looks pretty cool. Hopefully support units also look really nice, but Orfisto, oh my god, I am so hyped for this. This is definitely Chaos 2.0. I am, okay, it's not definitely, I'm expecting it to be. I'm just expecting it to be. Don't take my word as everything, you know. I'm just out here, just a random dude making predictions and just hoping for something exciting. And I love Baromagnes. I love every clan in it. You know, I play Link Joker, I play Novas, I play DP. Obviously I'm going to be excited about this. So yeah, this looks super tight in my opinion. The only other stuff we really got from today's stream was also some visuals. So we have Megumi's basically high school outfit. So apparently she kind of like has two faces that she shows. You know, she kind of like hides her feminine side when she's hanging out with the actual Vanguard crew. And then of course the policewoman by day, announcer by night, Tomari. This is the other side of her personality. So she does work as a police officer, and so that's quite fitting with the deck she plays. But I'm pretty excited to see where things go. And you might notice right here, I am already representing the right gang. Anyway, folks, that's gonna be it. I've been talking for a long time today because there's been a lot of interesting stuff to discuss about these cards. I feel like we've barely scratched the surface too, so I can't wait to start playtesting more of this set. It's actually quite nice that we have such a break between the Japanese and the English set, so I think about a month or so. So it's gonna give us a lot of time to actually like playtest a lot of these decks and see what we like before we actually commit to buying them in English. So while I am building a lot of the stuff in this set, I want to really like get my hands on everything. Baromagnes, I know for sure I'm playing, but for now, I'm not really sure what else. I like Zorga, I like Bastion, I like both Dark States things that they're doing, and I guess I'll see with Dragon Empire. I really like Verina's design, but the deck doesn't really feel that fun to play. So if Verina Valiente doesn't actually do anything exciting, I probably will pass on it, but I guess we'll see. I'm also curious to see what they're going to do with supporting the start decks in terms of triple rares, so I guess we're going to see that in the weeks to come. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. Next week, we're actually getting the first episode of the overdress anime, so we're going to be doing a bit of a discussion with that. Also, if you are a YouTube channel member or a Twitch subscriber, make sure you join my Discord because I do a lot of exclusive stuff for the Twitch subscribers and the YouTube channel members, whether it's remote fight tournaments or just like special exclusive streams just for the subs on Discord. I'm planning to do even like overdress anime watching parties, maybe rewatching older seasons of Vanguard or other anime in general, as well as a bunch of other extras. For YouTube channel members especially, I'm going to be doing some polls in the future on deciding what will be the sort of order that I release certain videos, what you guys want to see, etc. So if you want to get more involved with me and the channel, if you want to actually support the channel beyond just, you know, watching the videos, liking stuff, etc., you know, I always really appreciate it. So I'm trying to give as much back as I possibly can. And finally, if you want to pick up any overdress product, if you want to pick up the booster sets or the start decks and you haven't done so already, parkage.com has your back, and you can use DifferentFight as a discount code on checkout to get 5% off your order. Anyway, that's gonna be it for me today. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.